Excellent. All right, I would like to officially call to order the Tuesday, August 3rd, 2021 meeting of the Bolton Conservation Commission. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, subsection 18, and the Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place. This public meeting of the Town of Bolton Conservation Commission is being conducted via remote participation. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but the public can access this meeting while in progress by Zoom video communications. Members of the public attending this meeting virtually will be allowed to make comments if they wish to do so during the portion of the hearing designated for public comment by telephone, cell phone, or personal computer using Zoom. And as by tradition, we will start with a roll call. I am Brian Barabee.
Emily Winter.
Bill Payne.
The long ball.
Excellent.
And some quick guidelines as usual. If you could please remain on mute until you have been addressed by the board chair. If he opens any item to public comment, please utilize the chat or raised hand function to address the board. You can also physically wave your hand and I will be monitoring that as well, but it may take me a moment, but please stay on mute until you have been addressed by the board chair. Do not speak over other members or attendees. Please also refer your comments to and through the board, not directly to other participants or applicants. Participants are also required to display your first and last names for the purpose of record keeping. I'll hand it back over to you, Brian.
Okay, excellent. Rebecca, as we were letting people in, did it appear that anybody is here tonight to talk about Century Mill Road?
Yes.
Right. For any of the abutters for Century Mill Road, they have asked for a continuation until our next meeting. And my guess is that we will grant it to them. So we would love to have you sit and watch this full meeting, but it does not look like we'll be discussing Century Mill Road this evening. Just wanted to warn you in advance. All right, so first up this evening, we do have a request for a partial certificate of compliance for 258 Hudson Road, the Keys Farm subdivision. Rebecca, do we have an update on this request, or is somebody here representing the applicant?
Yes, Seth Donahoe is present, and I believe he is going to just provide an update and a summary to the commission about what exactly the partial request entails and what it includes. We were both out on site on Monday at Keys Farm to just review the perimeter controls. I did send you that site visit report, and I do apologize for that being relatively last minute to send that to you. But I was out, I documented what was out there, and I walked the perimeter controls, like I said, with Seth. So I will hand it over to you if the chair is comfortable with that, and hopefully he can provide an update.
Mr. Chairman, I was waiting for your cue if you'd like me to speak.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Seth. I was actually pulling up my copy of the request you guys had sent in. But yes, please, when and if you are able to, Seth, if you can give us a rundown, that would be fantastic.
So I am Seth Donahoe with Dillis and Roy. I'm here on behalf of Keys Farm LLC. And what we have put together is a request for partial certificate of compliance relevant to the areas that have been stabilized. And this request is only to remove the perimeter erosion controls. As you know, we've had a lot of rain lately, and we've been at the site on a regular basis, particularly at the outlets of the stormwater management areas. These erosion controls are essentially capturing clean stormwater, and there's a potential for them to breach at these points, which would essentially concentrate flows into the wetlands, which is exactly the opposite of the intent of the barrier. So all of these areas, and I see Rebecca highlighting them, they have limited tributary areas where they are directly adjacent to the basins because the berms are constructed in those spots, and there's vegetation growing in all those areas. And really at the outlets of the three management basins, it would be warranted to remove those at this time. The other area that's been highlighted is on the northerly side of the road. and those are behind the completed construction. Essentially, there's yards going up to that area, and then there's permanent walls in some spots that are separating those. For the most part, that entire area is well established with vegetation. In some areas, it's actually coming over the barriers at this point. So we like to remove them before they become completely entangled there. So that's our request in a nutshell. It's limited only to those areas. There are other barriers on the site which will remain. And if the commission has any questions for me, I'd be happy to address them.
Sure. Commission members have any initial questions? All right. Rebecca, I'm curious, you went on a site visit the other day. Could you kind of give us an overview of what you saw?
Sure. What I saw was what Seth had established. I would say areas adjacent to and within Basin 1. Can you see my mouse moving here?
Yes, I can.
Okay. That area I would say is stabilized. The area between the perimeter control and the inlet here that then goes under Hudson Road into Danforth Brook over on this side. That area is fully vegetated. That vegetation has come back successfully. That was the remediation area after a significant washout early in the project. Then, so this area here again, the area on the downslope or at the toe of the slope at the outlet of Basin 2, which is along this area here, there is some growth. They did overseed the area, so there's evidence of some growth, but this is an area where it pools and then it has overtopped in the past. My concern would be any additional work that's done to the basin. Again, there's significant growth in that area as well. However, I think until that's final, I have some concerns about that potentially moving some material as well. But currently, it does have substantial vegetation compared to what it's been in the past. And there was no siltation within the water that's coming out of the outlet here. And I do appreciate Seth's concern about pooling along the silt fence and then potentially having more erosion at the outlet because it's pooling up against the silt fence. So I do appreciate that concern as well. The area along the toe of the slope along the roadway here is also vegetated and has I'm not going to think about the stump grindings, and that again is relatively stable. It's become vegetated along the shoulder of the roadway as well in this area. Across the street here, this is relatively stable as well, and this really isn't of concern. I think this is stabilized enough. I would be comfortable saying that might be able to be removed at this point because there's no more work going on in this area either. Then as far as at the rear of the majority of these homes, I didn't have a concern. It is vegetated in the yard. I believe it's behind lot 14. I would have to double check the site visit report, but I believe it's lot 14, not 13. There was some silt right up against the silt fence. There was some grass clippings dumped there as well, but my primary concern is the silt right up against that silt fence. It's not a substantial amount, but just when that's pulled, I'd be concerned that we make sure it doesn't migrate further into the jurisdictional area. Then on Basin 3 here, we are finally seeing some growth here along this slope, which is great. The jute netting seems to be working. I would like to see a little bit more growth there. They do have a wattle now down by the water that's pooling within the basin itself to reduce any material or any more material from running off and entering into the basin itself. And I think that has also helped. There is some controls up here next to lot 12. I think that can be removed because again, no more work is going on this area and it's stable. But at the outlet of Basin 3, I think I still have the same concern relative to Basin 2 at the outlet and at this corner here. This corner throughout the project has, because it's at the toe of the slope, it has caught a lot of silt. We do see deposits in this area frequently, and the contractor has removed them as well frequently. But my concern would be until it's fully stabilized, I'm not as comfortable suggesting to the commission to remove that. But I think there are some areas that I highlighted, like this lot here at the front, potentially Basin 1, and then along the rear of some of these lots here. But that is what I saw. You can see it in the multiple images I incorporated into the site visit report. So I do think if the commission thought that the areas jurisdictional to the commission were in compliance and stabilized to a point where those areas could be removed, obviously at the commission's discretion, but I don't think that I would suggest removing them from the complete outlet side of 2 and the complete outlet side of 3 as well. And that's my feedback from the site visit.
Thank you. Sorry. Do any commission members have questions after hearing from Rebecca and Seth? Okay. Seeing none. Rebecca, any members of the public care to comment on this evening?
Hi, this is Liz Hutchins. I'm on 75 Moderator Way.
Hi, how are you?
Good. So this is just a question more than anything, and I'm not sure if this will even be in Seth's jurisdiction to answer, but we noticed that maybe last week there was a dump truck load of dirt dumped onto lot 17 at like basically the very corner right there. I'm not sure what the intention is with that dirt, but I'm wondering, and I know that the planning board has been mentioning that they were expecting some landscaping on lot 17. So I'm wondering if there is more dirt to be coming and they're planning on renovating that lawn. And the only reason I just wanted to bring that up is because it'll need to be restabilized essentially. So, but I don't know what the game plan is for that. I don't know how close to the silt fence they intend to do that, but I just figured I would mention that while we're having this discussion.
Sure. And Seth, do you know, is there additional work going on lot 17? Anything that would come up to those erosion controls, kind of the second grouping that Rebecca had pointed out?
Unfortunately, Mr. Chairman, I'm not part of those conversations at this time, so I couldn't answer that question. There is ongoing work in the project as they're working through the process with the planning board, but they're not relevant to the areas we requested.
All right. Rebecca, any other members of the public looking to comment tonight?
I see no one else.
Okay. And can I ask you, when it comes to requests like this, is it kind of an all or nothing? Can we talk about specific basins or specific areas?
The commission has the ability to do just that. So typically, as you recall, when a certificate of compliance is requested, full certificate of compliance or a certificate of compliance in general, the commission has the ability to issue a partial, ongoing conditions, or a complete certification. So at this time, I would not, and Seth isn't requesting on behalf of his client, a full certificate of compliance. The purpose of this is, and actually while we were on site, a resident was inquiring about when can the erosion controls be removed again on the, I believe it's the western side of the subdivision. So, or northwestern side of the subdivision there. So in that effect, what they're requesting is a partial to remove those areas because they feel that it's stabilized to a point where those controls may be removed. So the short answer is the commission has the ability to issue a partial. The commission also has the ability to not issue a partial at this time and wait for the full compliance. But there are, like I said, there are some areas that potentially could be removed if the commission so chooses to, and that could be done under a partial. And that's what we have before us this evening. But if your question is, if I'm misinterpreting that, if your question is more related to from what they have presented this evening, can the commission then amend that and say you can only remove it off of 1712 and open space 2 or something to that nature and specify? I believe we can, but Seth can weigh in on that as well as in terms of what his client is open to.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, this
Please.
is something we're happy to be working towards compliance, and this would be a part of it. And really, specifically to the outlets of Basin 1 and 2, I visited them after most of the heavy rain events in early July, and there was a significant amount of water being held back there. And I think it would be detrimental to not remove them at this point, in that at some point there's going to be a big storm on a weekend when nobody's around, and you're going to end up with a lot of water being concentrated. But really, these outlets are meant to spill stormwater onto a riprap surface, spread it out, and allow it to go in the direction of the barriers. And at this point, the barriers are just collecting everything and holding it back for days at this point. And at some point, they're probably going to let go, and that would be another discussion of cleaning up an area again.
I understand. Rebecca, do we have the I'm trying to think of the ability to define, like, if we were to talk about removing some with the exceptions of the outlet side of like Basin 2, the outlet side of Basin 3, I don't know that that's specific enough. Would it be possible for us to remove, like, do a partial COC and have the erosion controls that can be removed subject to your ability to get out there at some point in time and mark off what might be your areas of concern for outlet side 2 and outlet side 3, the outlet side of Basin 2 and the outlet side of Basin 3? I'm trying to think of the best way to define specific areas.
Sorry, I made it. You could, of course, do that or vote to do that. I would not suggest doing that. I
Okay.
would suggest establishing where, whether it be by lot specific or stormwater basin specific. I would like it documented during a public meeting and not subject to interpretation in the field, even by myself. I think we need to clarify this during the meeting this evening. So just for example, for what's been discussed that I saw while I was on site, lot 12, outside of the drainage easement. So the drainage easement is this hashed area, as you see along. So lot 12 outside of the drainage easement would cover this area here that I was referring to, that there's a line of silt fence. Then is it lot 16 and 15? So I would do it lot specific in that manner. So if it's lot 16, 15, 14, and 13, and then Basin 1, or the exterior of Basin 1, and then I can certainly go out and confirm with Seth if he would like, and that's of course at the request of his client as well, because I can't speak for Seth's time, but I think that's more substantive for the purpose of this meeting this evening and making sure that we're relaying properly what's being requested by the commission versus leaving it up to interpretation.
Okay. So for other commission members, if I were to propose, or we think to propose a partial certificate and allowing them to remove the erosion controls in the exterior of Basin 1, and then going across, it looks like lots 17, 16, 15, 14, and 13. Would people have objections to that? Are there something, is there different wording people are looking for? People have questions, thoughts, concerns?
I have a question for Rebecca. For Basin 2, Rebecca, are you thinking that once we see more vegetation through the stump grindings, that would be a better time to remove that fence?
That would certainly help. Well, my concern is it's actually related to what was mentioned a little bit earlier with other work that may be going on site. I know planning board has brought up, and they actually shared their feedback from one of their past meetings about this regarding the perimeter control removal, with their concerns about Basin 3 and 2. So that's why I'm stating Basin 3, I think we need to see the stabilization finalized, essentially. I think it's on its way there. I'm happy with how the jute netting's been, or the erosion mat or blanket, however you want to term it, has been working. It seems to be very effective. Same thing with the wattle. And same thing with Basin 2 as it exists today. And I appreciate Seth's concern about the water pooling against the silt fence. But my concern is also if there's any more work to be done on Basin 2 or 3, I want to make sure that those perimeter controls are up and in place, and it's not something I need to be chasing down or going back out to ensure that they're installed, that they stay there until those areas are finalized in compliance. Where Basin 1, I think, is at a point where the vegetation's there, both the remediation area and within and around the basin itself. We haven't seen substantial issues with it regarding anything at the outlet or within the basin. They've cleaned it out as well. And that's why I'm saying areas I would be confident suggesting to the commission, but the commission has the ability to say, with more vegetative growth, Rebecca can authorize you, or you come back to the next meeting and we'll authorize you to remove it. But at this time, for the partial COC, I just wouldn't feel comfortable with it, but it's at your discretion to make that decision.
Other questions from commission members? All right. And Rebecca, I was just unsure though, for lot 17, the one right along Hudson Road there, if there was dirt or fill brought in, it sounded like we were basically fine with removing the erosion controls there, because it seems like everything is basically settled and growing there. But it seems like also Seth doesn't know if there was fill brought in, if there's going to be work done on that specific lot, what that fill was brought in for. I'm trying to think, would we lose the ability if we say, all right, you can remove the erosion controls, if then they were going to go try to, I don't know, fill the back end of the yard or reseed?
We don't lose the ability, because the order of conditions is still open. There's still jurisdictional area to the Conservation Commission. So if they're doing work on site that's outside of the jurisdiction of the Conservation Commission, they're able to do that, whether it's there or not. There is,
Right.
again, the order of conditions is still in place. They still have to remain in compliance with that. And essentially, I can follow up with the site manager or site contractor and double check with them on what that material was brought in for and where it is going on site, and remind them that, these are the jurisdictional areas. If it's in our jurisdiction, you'll have to leave the silt fence up or install new silt fence. But that's, again, to Emily's point previously about Basin 2, the commission has the ability to issue the partial COC as it stands, or provide some feedback and amend the existing request. However, the commission still has the ability to ensure that this project is in compliance. Because of that, order of conditions is still open. It is still jurisdictional to the commission, and anything that alters. So it's just essentially protecting it so that we don't have an issue in the future versus playing, if it happens, we're going to put it back up.
Okay. Any other comments out there from members of the public?
I see none.
Okay. And any commission members have any additional comments, thoughts, points? All right. In that case, I think I'd like to call a roll call vote to vote in favor of the partial certificate of compliance for the Keys Farm subdivision regarding the removal of erosion controls, with the caveat that the areas for which we feel it's appropriate to remove said erosion controls be limited to the Basin 1 exterior, Lot 17, Lot 16, Lot 15, Lot 14, and Lot 13, as presented on the plans this evening.
Lot
Well-
12, Brian. Lot 12,
Well,
side of
Lot
the,
12 outside of the drainage easement.
Sure. And additionally, Lot 12 outside of the drainage easement. All right. All those in favor of issuing a partial certificate of compliance for the removal of the erosion controls that were just laid out, please say aye, starting with Emily.
aye.
Bill,
Aye.
do we have Lori?
Yep.
Lori Stevenson
Aye.
and Rebecca, I am an aye as well.
Great. Thank you. Okay.
All right. Thank you, Seth.
Thank you, guys. Have a nice night.
Thank you.
All right. What do we have? Oh, we're doing all right on time. Too bad. Did people have a chance to look through the minutes from the last meeting by chance? And if you require more time to look through the minutes, please just let me know. We have time. All right. Hearing none, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the minutes for our July 27th, 2021 meeting as drafted and submitted at this evening's meeting. Do I hear a second for that?
Second,
All right. All those in favor, starting with Emily,
aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Lori,
Aye.
and Rebecca, I'm and I myself.
Thank you.
Trying to think, should we, we still got another minute or two for Century Mill.
Do you want to, so the reason why the board reorganization opportunity is
Yep.
on here is just simply an administrative opportunity, we'll say, for anyone on the commission that may want to either step down or step up. I feel that we have a wonderful board, so it's not an issue either way, but typically in other towns and other boards, we do allow for this opportunity for the next fiscal year, and I feel like we forget about it most, or I forget about it most years to bring it up. Currently, obviously Brian is our wonderful chair, and I think Emily is technically our vice chair, but if anyone has interest in stepping up to an opportunity or would like an opportunity to garner the responsibilities of the chair or the vice chair or move things around, you can make a motion to do so, or someone can make a motion to keep it as is, essentially. Or they can nominate Brian again for chair
Oh, yeah.
and then make a motion.
As I say, do we need to do that housekeeping wise this evening?
No, we don't have to do that this evening. It can be addressed at another meeting.
All right.
But we should, even if it stays the same, we should still
Yeah.
vote that into the record.
Because I think what I would suggest is that we vote on it at our next meeting, because give everybody 2 weeks, and that way we can talk people into being chair. It'll be fun.
Great.
The little baskets. But going forward, and if we have a minute or two now, we should just try to think about if it's the first meeting of the fiscal year, that we should do this every year and just kind of put it on our calendar to do.
Yeah.
I know at one point in time we had tried to do this, and I think we were just short of members or members that could put in time.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is. Again, it's a good thing to be doing every year. It's a good thing to have on our calendar every year. So why don't we re-up officers and everything? At next meeting, we'll do an official vote. But then unless board members object, I would say maybe our first meeting of the fiscal year every year, or it could be calendar year too.
Okay.
Well, probably fiscal year is better that way. If there's a chair, they can go through the full process, budget process through the end of the year and all that. Yeah, all the fun stuff.
So exciting.
Yeah. I think, all the excitement.
Yeah. And two, if members want to anonymously nominate, you can do so by emailing me, but we will still have to vote that at the next meeting. So that is an opportunity as well.
I think people have to be commission members. We can't just
Yes.
anonymously
Sorry, I shouldn't
voted
say
people around
commission
town.
members. And
There's
you
a
have
few
to
good-
vote for a commission member. Yes. Thank you.
There's past commission members I'd like to vote in for a chair or two, whether they know it or not.
Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. So yeah, everybody think about that. We'll put that on the agenda for next time. And then again, I would say we'll try to remember to do the first meeting of the fiscal year going forward. All right. Next up, do you want to move on to Century Mill Road?
Yes.
Okay. So the Bolton Conservation Commission will now continue the public hearing under Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Bolton Bylaw, Chapter 233, to consider a notice of intent filed for Century Mill Road, map 3.D, parcel 75, a discussion regarding proposed construction of 3 single-family homes and the widening and paving of an existing gravel driveway. And I bet, Rebecca, I was going to ask you for an update, but I can see it's on screen as well, that they've asked for a continuance. I see no reason not to grant it. Therefore, I'd like to make a motion that we continue the public hearing for Century Mill Road, map 3.D, parcel 75, till our next public hearing, Tuesday, August 17th, 2021 at 7:30 p.m. Do I hear a second for continuing?
Second.
All right, all those in favor, starting with Emily,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Lori,
Aye.
and Rebecca, and I myself.
Wonderful. Thank you. I think we have time before this one.
I think we do too. Do you want to talk, Jillian? There. Oh,
Oh, where did I go? Jillian. I thought I saw her here.
I thought she popped in. Yeah.
She is here.
Okay. I think most commission members were introduced to Jillian via Zoom, our new way of being a commission. I think Rebecca sent around her letter of interest as well. I see no reason why we shouldn't recommend her for a board participation to the Board of Selectmen. But I will open it up to any and all commission members if they have any questions or just words of knowledge they would like to share. No scaring her off. All right. Hearing none, I'd like to make a motion. I'd like to call for a vote that the Bolton Conservation Commission officially recommend to the Bolton Select Board, the appointment of Jillian Glasenos to the Bolton Conservation Commission. All those in favor, starting with Emily Winter.
Aye.
William Payne,
Aye.
Lori Stevenson,
Aye.
and Rebecca, I'm an I myself. Jillian, thank you for your willingness to do this. I would imagine the select board will really appreciate your wanting to come and volunteer. They're usually fun and interesting to talk to.
Great. Thank you. Look forward to it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for volunteering. Oh, 147.
Do you want to address this now or do you want to wait?
We have probably now, right? We still have about 10 minutes before we can start the next one.
So this is solely so the developer had reached out to me regarding whether or not our peer reviewer had done the final review. And clearly they had not yet because there was a lapse from the wonderful pandemic. And now we would like to reach back out. They would like us to do the final review. And therefore, I did reach out to Amy Ball, our wetland scientist, who conducted the last peer review visits and then the reports associated with them for 147 Long Hill Road Common Driveway project from Horsley and Witten. And she presented a proposal, which I had forwarded to all of you. And essentially, it's what you have on your screen right now. And the request is where the commission would consider a vote to request funds from the developer of 147 Long Hill Road Common Driveway, Walter Erickson, in the amount of $2,450 as referenced in the proposal letter dated July 19th, 2021 from Amy Ball of Horsley and Witten regarding the quote peer review final inspection, wetland mitigation area, 147 Long Hill Road, Bolton, Mass. Mass DEP file number 112-0620 from the Conservation Commission's peer reviewer, as I just mentioned as well. So this is solely to allow to request the funds to then finance our peer reviewer so that we can have that report to then comment on and provide some feedback on and see the level of compliance.
Okay. Thank you. Members of the commission, does that make sense to you? Do you understand what we're asking for here tonight? Okay. In that case, I'd like to call for a vote for the commission to authorize requesting the funds from the developer of 147 Long Hill Road, Walter Erickson, in the amount of $2,450. For the purposes of a peer review and final inspection of wetland mitigation area at 147 Long Hill Road in Bolton, Mass DEP file number 112-0620 from our peer reviewer, Amy Ball of Horsley Witten Group. All those in favor of making this request, starting with Emily.
Aye.
Bill.
Aye.
Lori.
Aye.
And Rebecca, I am an aye as well.
Wonderful, thank you.
And that wording was fine. Beautiful.
Ryan, we do have an individual who has raised their hand.
Oh, for comment on this? Sure. Do we have a few minutes?
Okay.
I'll just let them know, like, I'm happy to take comment on it, but this was kind of a housekeeping from a letter that was sent out in July, basically saying that we'd like to get this peer review done so that we can kind of go through what we're actually expecting from them at the end. But I will happily take a comment and or question.
Okay, again, specific to the agenda item for tonight, we're not considering comments for the entirety of the project. But Lauren Silly, I will unmute you.
Hi.
Hi.
I was just wondering, and maybe you can't answer this now. It's like, I'm wondering what constitutes it being final, like what the final inspection is looking for. Like, is that when all the silt fence should be removed and everything is good to go? Or is this like, there's still something else, another step after the final inspection?
So the final inspection, that this is not the final inspection to close out. They would have to request a certificate of compliance to remove everything and be finally done. The final inspection is specific to this, the one that is on the agenda this evening is specific to the wetland mitigation area and the inspection related to some migration of material that had occurred as well. But primarily, this is the wetland mitigation area final review.
Got it. So before it was like signed off on as being done and the certificate of compliance, you or someone would from the board would be looking at the site as well.
Yes, that's an additional process, but this definitely informs that next step.
Perfect. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, I think we still have a few minutes. Is there any updates that you think you can?
Yes. Actually, one, and we'll probably continue the conversation potentially after the hearing item. I received a call from the camp director, I believe, for Tom Denny Nature Camp. They had some concerns because some broken branches were falling off the trees. I think they've roped up off an area where they typically do camp activities, but they've moved out of that area because the branches have been falling. And they had actually asked our tree warden to look at the area because he was out addressing another issue along the trails. But he did call and just make sure that we were aware of the circumstance going on and that he was not going to be removing anything unless the commission requests it. And it is a conservation property first and foremost. We have storms that bring down trees. This seems to be a little bit more than that. It's possible that we do need someone to assess the trees just to ensure their health. But at the same time, we do need to ensure that their root systems aren't being impacted by increased activity around them as well. So it could be a multitude of causes, but I stated that I would share what was going on the property with the commission so that they were aware of it and could think about how to address it if it needs to be addressed. But again, the primary concern was the safety of the campers while they're there and that these branches are coming off the trees. So it may be worth over the weekend or towards the end of the week to take a walk out if you're familiar with where the camp is located to just see what exactly they're talking about.
Did the tree warden have any comments? Was he seeing like sick trees, or did he think it could be the multitude of?
I did not go into that with him other than he had just reviewed the area to see if there were any that were hanging off going to fall immediately. And he didn't confirm or state that it wasn't an issue, but I can certainly reach back out to him. But he also didn't want to do too much work there, obviously without being authorized to by the commission.
All right. Well, give me a good reason to go to Bowers this weekend at some point. Been trying to use our other properties because I know how much Bower gets killed, which is it's been
Which
a great
is
time.
wonderful.
It's been a good time to explore other properties. Yeah, new smells for the dog and everything. It's great.
Yeah. So that was the primary concern. And additionally to that, more of a Bower Springs concern than Tom Denny, the abutter, I went out with the abutter, the new homeowner at the end of Flanagan Road there. They will be doing some landscaping work on their property, including a stone boundary wall of sorts, not very high, but it may be surprising to some individuals that the property line does come slightly into what they may perceive as the entryway. The entryway still has enough room to stay open. There's no issue with them doing the work because it is in fact on their property. They've communicated with us how they're going to proceed. It's not going to impact or obstruct entry into the property, but just so people are aware that may be taking place within the next few months.
Thank you.
Mhm.
All right. Rebecca, if you are ready, I think we can start Fry Road.
Yes.
Okay. The Bolton Conservation Commission will now continue the public hearing under Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Bolton Bylaw, Chapter 233, to consider a request for determination of applicability for 84 Fry Road, a proposed 18 by 18 sunroom with roof and concrete footings submitted by Chris Western of Red Oak Renovations. So this is continued from last time. I know a few of us got out there on site today to kind of look at the proposed area. Just tell you quickly from what I saw, it is over existing lawn. There are some mature trees in the area that the applicant stated will not be removed. There might be some limbing, but you can see where those limbs would go over the house. So they're already kind of working their way over. Topography wise, it is a drop off when you get to the end of their property down to the wetland, but it looked like there was enough area surrounding the proposed addition that depending on how the runoff was handled, it really shouldn't cause major infiltration into the wetlands or major rutting or flooding or anything along those lines. Any other commission members that were out on the site visit, or any commission members have questions, comments about this one that they didn't get out at our last meeting? All right. Rebecca, do you have any thoughts on this one that you would like to share?
I do not, other than the work is relatively close to our jurisdictional areas and resource areas. It is over existing lawn, like you stated, and I think if they're addressing the roof runoff and ensuring that their limit of work stays within what was staked out and fenced in on site while we were out there, I think that's feasible.
Are there any members of the public here to comment on this one tonight or with any questions?
I see none.
Okay. All right. I would be leaning towards doing probably a negative, it's a -3 determination for the RDA, that it is jurisdictional, but it can be done with certain conditions. And just by initial pass, those conditions would be that roof runoff be captured either through a dry well or a gutter system, and be basically be funneled away from the resource area. And even if it's allowed to mitigate back in over time, but the initial runoff somehow be captured and aimed away from the resource area. That the limit of work is what was basically shown on site today and marked off on site today. And also that it's in these plans. And that stockpiling of materials, whenever possible for this build, should be kept outside of the resource area. Are there other conditions that members of the commission would want to see for this? All right. Rebecca, are there any conditions that you would normally like to see in a project like this that I did not kind of bring up?
I think typically the commission also utilizes one referencing erosion controls.
Yep.
But due to the site conditions and the fact that there is, unless I'm not recalling correctly, a fence around the work area, then maybe the commission feels that that's not necessary on this site, but that's just the only other one that you typically add in.
Okay. And I can, let me try this again. I can ask Emily, did you think that erosion control was necessary?
I'm comfortable with no erosion control because all I see for excavation is for the sonotubes. If they were digging out a foundation, I would be more concerned because we'd have a lot more dirt stockpiled. But I think it's okay because it's relatively flat where the porch is being built. And it should be a pretty quick process to get those sonotubes in. So, and as Rebecca mentioned, there was a fence in that area.
Yep.
So, but I am not opposed to erosion control if anyone else on the commission feels otherwise, so.
Okay. All right. I'd like to make a motion that, oh, actually, I should say that I'd like to make a motion that we close the public hearing for 84 Fry Road. Do I hear a second for closing?
Second,
All right. All those in favor of closing, starting with Emily,
aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Lori,
Aye.
and Rebecca, I'm and I myself. Now, I'd like to make a motion that we have a -3 determination for 84 Fry Road with the following conditions. That the stockpiling of any materials for the build be done outside of the resource areas. That the limit of work for this project be as it was staked out today during our site visit. And that any roof runoff from this new sunroom be directed either into dry wells, French wells, or a gutter system that draws the water away from the resource area. Do I hear a second for that?
Second.
All right, all those in favor, starting with Emily,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Lori,
Aye.
and Rebecca, I'm and I myself.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any additional updates, Rebecca? That's all I'm seeing is just the updates.
No, just the updates. Well, I shouldn't say no additional updates. The only other update is that I did include just some advertisement for the MVP grant project that we have completed and to encourage people to review that. So I did keep that on the agenda this evening. And the other update was that the signage associated with the grant project that our intern was working on will be installed, and the trail, although it's not connected yet to the Forbush trail system, the Forbush field trail system, the portion in Taggart will be open to the public. Technically it's open now, but the signage will be installed and open to the public by the beginning of September.
That is excellent.
Yep, and that's it.
All right. Any commission members have any new business? Seeing none. Once again, thank you, Jillian, for your willingness to join. We look forward to having you as an official member at our next meeting, maybe. I'm not sure when the select board meets. But that said, I'd like to make a motion that we hereby adjourn the Tuesday, August 3rd, 2021 meeting of the Bolton Conservation Commission. Do I hear a second for adjourning?
Second.
I said nobody wants to go.
It's very quiet tonight.
Everybody loves the Conservation Commission meeting. All right. Having made the motion and having it seconded, all those in favor of adjourning, starting with Emily,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Lori,
Aye.
and Rebecca, I am and I myself.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. And I will see you all on the 17th, if not sooner.
Thank you, Rebecca. Take care. Good night, everyone.
Recording stop.